Okay, I'm going to get this meeting underway. Currently, we have 5 members available for tonight, so we do have a quorum. My name is Lynn Fiddler. I'm going to just fix my computer here so everybody can see me. And today is May 11th, 2021. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Lynn Fiddler. I will be your hearing officer this evening, and I am the chair of the ZBA. So we are working with quite a big agenda this evening. Before I get started, I'd like to remind everybody that MCTV is participating, so your voices, your images as we are able to see them, and the attachments and all of that are part of the record, so be mindful of that. We also need to remind you that if you are dialing in and you need to speak, or it is your right to do so when it's been called to the public or something of that nature, you're going to press *6. So again, you'll press *6 to unmute yourself and to be able to be heard by myself and the rest of the board and the community. Before we get started, I am going to do a roll call, and that's part of our procedure. So I will get that underway, and then we'll get right to it. So this evening, and my name again, Lynn Fiddler. I'm here at my home. And do we have Brian Murphy?
I'm here.
Thank you. Do we have Mark Stiles?
Here.
Thank you. Larry Keane?
I'm here at my home in Marshfield.
Thank you. Chris Belisos?
Here at home in Marshfield.
Okay, very good. So I'm able to hear all of you. You can all hear me, and we're going to get this started. So we have a couple housekeeping things for this evening. I'm going to get to that right away, and then I'll explain the agenda for the way we're going to hear our hearings this evening. All righty. I'm going to start on our continued hearings to date certain as 5/11/2021. And we have a case 19-81, which is DJ Sullivan Collision Center, which is 612 Plain Street. The applicant has requested via their attorney, Attorney Brodsky, to continue. They're still in the process of working through planning. Nancy, do we have a request for a specific date?
They requested the 8th, but I believe they're going back to planning on the 14th. So they may be requesting another one on the 8th.
So are you suggesting we take it for June 8th?
That's what they asked for?
I don't think that makes any sense if they're not coming, because we're working with
I don't know.
planning.
That's what their letter requested, June 8th.
Okay, well then we'll just go through this exercise again. All right, I'd like to make a motion to continue case 1981 to June 8th. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor of moving this to June 8th at 6:30, case 19-81. Lynn Fiddler? Aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Chris Belisos?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. So June 8th, Nancy, all set. Working again in continued hearings to date certain, we have a case 21-25, which is the Marshfield Agriculture and Horticultural Association for 33 South River Street. This applicant has requested us to withdraw without prejudice. Is that correct, Nancy?
That's correct.
Okay. All those, so I'd like to make a motion to accept that and allow them to withdraw without prejudice. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Seconded by Larry Keane. All those in favor? Lynn Fiddler? Aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Chris Belisos?
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along. We also have other business this evening. We have case 18-63, 24 Brighton Street. This particular decision was issued in September of 2018. It was an 18-foot 6-inch by 12-foot 6-inch addition on a single-family dwelling within an existing footprint. The applicant has asked us to grant them an extension. So I'm inclined to make a motion to grant this extension for a year. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to grant the extension to, the previous one was from June 9th, 2020. So let's do this to June 9th, 2022. Does that make sense, Nancy?
It does.
Okay, so that's what we'll stand with, June 9th, 2020, an extension for case 18-63. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Seconded by Larry Keane. All those in favor, Lynn Fidler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Sorry. Aye. Jim?
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Chris Blazos.
Aye.
Okay. In other business, we also have a case 15-71, which is Jeffrey DeLisi Esquire, 2205 Main Street, a discussion regarding the status of the buffer and if recent changes are an acceptable replacement of a previous buffer. We're going to start with that, and then we're going to, for the audience and the board members that are listening, we're going to go into our agenda. The first hearing, which is 21-28, American Towers LLC, is a pretty extensive application and presentation. So I'd like to work with our other cases, 21-29 through 21-35 prior to that, and bump that to the end, and hopefully I can scooch right through the majority of that, and we'll get to work on that hearing later on. So those of us listening in American Towers, although it appears to be first in line, we're going to get through the other residents and then get to that. Okay. So Andrew, we're going to work on 1863, and you'll see the audience and our board members that we have this in front of us as our agenda. So I'm going to leave case, I'm sorry, I said 1863, I meant 1571. Attorney DeLisi, if you would begin the discussions in regards to this informal proposal for this buffer.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Jeff DeLisi, Orenberger, DeLisi, and Harris. Thank you for hearing us kind of out of order. I appreciate it. And I know that you have pretty much a packed agenda tonight, so I'll just kind of summarize quickly. I represent Eric Rote, who is or should be on the telephone call with me today. This matter concerns Rote Marine Restaurant and Marina on the North River. I requested an informal discussion concerning the recent buffer plantings that have been installed. Essentially, the zoning bylaw requires a buffer between residential and commercial districts. And in 2015, prior to the business operation, Mr. Rote was issued a special permit from this board. Brian Murphy, I think that you were sitting at the time. The special permit allowed Mr. Rote basically to maintain the then existing buffer. The special permit also required him to install a fence on his property adjacent to the property at 18 Littles Lane, and to fill in any gaps in vegetation, and also to file an as-built plan. Last summer, a neighboring property owner entered Mr. Rote's property without authorization and removed the vegetation that Mr. Rote was required to maintain as the buffer. Andrew became involved, but since realized that there's no violation of the special permit, I believe that there's a letter in your file to that effect. Today, Mr. Rote filed an as-built plan. I can share my screen. I can see Andrew's trying to catch up with me. The as-built plan basically shows that Mr. Rote recently installed 10, 12 to 14 foot green giant arborvitaes and 7 4 to 5 feet green giant arborvitaes in the area where the vegetation was removed in an attempt to actually restore the buffer. So Mr. Rote, he had actually indicated to me earlier this evening that the 7 smaller trees, it really was an issue of ordering, and that he's actually going to be replacing those trees once the larger 12 to 14 foot trees become available, and so long as it's appropriate with climate and so forth to plant at that time. But he'll be replacing the 7 smaller trees with the larger, same size, larger ones. So essentially the purpose of this informal discussion is to achieve a consensus. I don't think the board needs to vote, but I would like a consensus for the board on the record that Mr. Rote's recent and contemplated plantings will be considered adequate restoration of the green buffer area, such that he's not required to take any additional action with respect to the unauthorized removal of the vegetation. So, and I can see Andrew has it up on the screen. That's the area where you see the trees there is the area where the vegetation was removed. The photo on the bottom shows a portion of the newer trees as they were being put in. And the photo on the top that you probably just saw shows what they were before they were removed in an unauthorized manner. So I'm just asking the board for a consensus that we're cool with respect to the buffer plantings. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board as we're going through this? You can see there's a substantial amount of vegetation of various height. Okay.
The Jolly Green arborvitaes are the fastest growing arborvitaes, and we ordered the biggest ones that we can get.
Yeah.
Basically.
I took a site visit as well, and do not have a problem with it, but I'm only one of the board. So I'd like to hear what the rest of the board has to say. Brian Murphy. Brian?
Sorry, Lynn, I have no problem with it.
So I appreciate the photographs as we're going through this. Mark Stiles, what's your take on this?
Attorney DeLisi, as best you know, is there a view easement between the properties?
There's not a view easement to my knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is, I did a site visit as well. These are beautiful trees, and I'm sure it will help with the sound buffering, which I think is what they're intended for. So I'm in favor of it, and I see it well within the last permit. Thanks.
Larry Keane?
Yeah, I also went by this location. It always looks nice and it appears to be in line with what he had there before. I have no issue with this.
And that's the property boundary stake right there?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. And the bound, okay.
Just one quick, why did the neighbor remove those trees?
I never got.
Was that construction going on?
I believe that it's probably going to be the subject of a upcoming civil action. So I'm going to defer to answer that question since
Okay.
I can only be speculating.
Okay. Chris Felisos.
I swung by as well. I don't see any problem. I know that at 18 Littles, there was a 6-foot height restriction, but there's nothing here, so you could plant anything you want.
Agreed.
So I think that is the discussion from the board at this point. I'm not sure where this will take you. Attorney DeLisi, are there any other comments from the public?
May I speak?
Please identify yourself for the record.
Helen Burgess, 18 Littles Lane. I do not believe that these trees are in compliance. In the minutes from 2015, April, it says the applicant should provide a landscape design of the plantings that shall be in the buffer zone. I'd like to know if he did that.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Was that part of the decision?
Yes. It was part of the decision. There were 11 items in the decision, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Mr. Road has a 10-acre plan on a 1-acre plot. This is impeding my view. It's impeding the view of the people at the Fox property. And I don't think that it's supposed to be more than 10 feet high in any way, shape, or form. It says 50% of the planting should be consisted of evergreens. That doesn't necessarily. I would like to know what Mr. Rowe plans to do with the 2 granite markers he removed and replaced with wooden posts. Those are historic markers. They mark the property line and he summarily removed them. And I'd like to know where they are and if we can get them back.
Okay, so that's something that this board is not privy to at this particular time. I don't have the answer to that question, but I'm certainly willing to have Attorney DeLisi weigh in and give us information if he has that available to him.
Okay, that would be fine.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Attorney DeLisi?
I'd like to.
I don't have any information responsive to that question.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. I would also like to say that the people that own the property abutting Mr. Oates have done nothing but make an improvement. And I don't know when the picture of those green trees was taken, but when they cleaned it out, it was mostly brush on their side of the property. And none of us dare to go on Mr. Oates' property. We wouldn't be caught dead there.
Okay,
So I can pretty much assure you that what is ever cut down was not cut down from his property.
Okay, so this is part of a civil situation. So this board is here to informally go over the actual replacement of the buffer. So I am comfortable with what Attorney DeLisi prepared for us and the preliminary discussions that he offered to the board. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? All righty, in that case, I think Attorney DeLisi, I appreciate you bringing this to the attention of the board and enjoy your evening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Speaker view settings. Why can I not talk? Enable mirror.
Oh, great.
Video, hide audio.
Andrew, do we have a situation with somebody?
Yes. Can I speak?
Could you please identify yourself and what is this in regards to?
Yes, I'm sorry. I kept saying, could I speak? But apparently it wasn't going through. Kathleen Fox. And it's in regard to the buffer zone.
Kathleen, Attorney DeLisi just stepped out and
well, I kept saying, could I speak? As soon as Helen Burgess finished, I said, can I speak? And I said it about 5 times before I was acknowledged.
It wasn't perhaps pressing star. You're dialing in, so perhaps by pressing *6, it wasn't accepting through your phone line.
No, I'm not. We're on a laptop.
Oh, you're on a laptop. Okay. Attorney Riley, can you weigh in where this is an unusual situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, that the hearing's closed. Seems to be unfortunate, but there's not much we can do about it. The hearing's closed and Attorney DeLisi is no longer here.
He's gone up to,
Does that negate the fact that property owners cannot speak in general?
we
to the
just
board?
ended it. It wasn't a formal, this was not a formal,
Lynn,
hearing.
can you get Jeff back on?
Did you get a chance to look over the information?
Jeff's there
that I
now.
sent?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just logged back in.
Here, and it wasn't a hearing, so it's not like we didn't vote to close anything. We're still able to have an informal discussion right now.
I just don't have Attorney DeLisi. Oh, he's back. Okay.
Mr. DeLisi's back.
That was my concern. It wasn't, yeah,
So
exactly.
that's what I was trying to explain. Is I just admitted him back into the room.
Okay, I appreciate that. So Attorney DeLisi, we have another member of the public. Please again, identify yourself for the record. Name and address, please.
Kathleen Fox and Terrence Power, 2193 Main Street.
Okay, what do you have to say?
Well, we sent in quite a few pieces of information, complaint that we filed, and we also sent in some pictures and documentation as to why we do not feel that these particular trees meet the requirements, the conditions. There was a special permit granted on November 24th of 2015, and there were 6 conditions to that permit. And one of the conditions is that the applicant shall install a 6-foot tall fence behind 18, which is Helen's property. And then when you go down to number 4 in the conditions, it says the plantings shall be manicured so they maintain a height similar to the fencing. Now, the information that I sent along about the green giants from the Arbor Day Foundation says that they grow 50 to 60 feet tall, and they spread 12 to 20 feet at maturity, growing 2 feet a year. These particular trees right now are 16 to 18 feet tall. They are not 10 to 12. There's a tag right on them that says 16 feet. They are currently encroaching about 2 feet into our property past the boundary marker. And that was the day they were planted. They haven't even grown. I can't see how this could be an acceptable height for a plant, for a tree, when it says similar to the fencing, which is 6 feet high. It also says that it should be manicured and maintained. And when we moved in, these pictures that you're looking at right now, that is what the buffer looked like. It was not manicured. It was not maintained. It was not done. It says it may use the existing vegetation as a buffer. However, they shall install a fence or add plantings currently screened from view and allow a width of 5 feet. This shall be done purposefully with a design aesthetic so it looks deliberate and not unintentional. It should be maintained and manicured to maintain a similar height to the fencing. It was not manicured. It was not aesthetically designed. There was nothing purposeful about it. It was a total unintentional overgrowth of vines that were choking and strangling the forsythia and the lilacs that were growing on our side of the property. So that was not an approved buffer at the time 2 years ago. And I suspect it looked that way for quite some time. So I don't know if he presented a plan, but if not, it says the other condition, number 6, was that the applicant shall provide the board with as-built plans of the buffer. So I can't imagine that he sent you plans of that overgrown mess and it was approved. And if he did send you plans of something else, then he was not in compliance with those plans because this is what it looked like.
Okay, So this board has a very packed agenda this evening. So if Attorney DeLisi could quickly answer your response, and then if this needs to come up in front of the board at a future time with a hearing as an appeal or an enforcement or something of that nature, this board would be certainly willing to go down that road. But right now, Attorney DeLisi, do you have something to say?
Well, I already provided a response on all of this to Andrew. This was provoked by a request for zoning enforcement in the first instance. Andrew wrote a cease and desist letter, and then we researched all of this and provided a response, and that letter was rescinded by Andrew. The bottom line is that there was a buffer strip that was then existing. We are required to maintain a buffer strip. We went to the ZBA. The ZBA said you can keep what's there, and also also install a six foot tall fence, 26 feet in length, as part of the buffer with 18 Little's Lane, currently owned by Helen Burgess. So that was done, and that's shown on the as-built plan that was filed with you, which you have in your file. So it's not our fault that somebody went in on our property and took down all of the vegetated buffer, and then when we're required to maintain it. So we replant it, and now we're being told that it's too big and too high. I showed you photographs that show what that buffer was, and it's higher than what these trees are presently. So we're doing the best we can. We don't believe that we have a height restriction. That height restriction only applies to the areas that we were filling in gaps on. This is not that area. That's my response.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, we need to move on. I appreciate the comments from the public, and feel free to reach out to Nancy and Andrew and work through these issues, and I hope they're worked out amicably.
Thank you so much.
So this is not closed then, it's not approved.
This is just an informal discussion at this point. It's not an actual hearing. We're not voting on anything. We're giving you our input informally. All righty.
So you're approving Mr. Rote's trees at this point. We have the opportunity.
We gave, each of us individually gave Attorney DeLisi our opinion of the situation as we just saw them. So without any other information. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay. Nancy, I'm going to get into the meat of this hearing this evening. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All righty. So we're going to start with case 2129. Do we have the applicant? 114 Dwight Road, Stephen Sawyer.
Hi, yes, this is Stephen Sawyer.
Hi, Stephen.
Good
I'm
evening.
going to read this into the record, and then we're going to get started. 2129, Stephen Sawyer, the petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with Chapter 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to replace a 24-foot by 12-foot deck which will include a 10.5-foot by 12-foot screen porch on the property located at 114 Dwight Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel H15-15-01 and is located in an R3 zoning district. Okay, so Stephen, as we're going through this, these are the various applications that were provided to the board. And I'm going to let you, as Andrew goes through this, I'm going to let you explain your project to the board.
Yep,
The
so
floor is yours.
like it says, it's replacement of the 24 by 12 foot deck. And then on that would be a portion, which would be a screened in portion, 10.5 by 12 feet. So basically the screened in area would be behind the main body of the house.
Andrew,
And-
stop there, will you? Thank you. Go ahead.
And yeah, so keeping it, I guess, on this view, if you're looking at the deck, it would be on that left portion. And then the remainder on the right side of the deck would just be a standard deck. And the footprint for the project remains the same as seen there, which was a 12 by 24 deck.
So, Stephen, the actual plan that we received was a mortgage inspection plan. And unfortunately, it doesn't meet the requirements of this board where it has handwritten setbacks on your rear setback. However, based on what we're seeing in front of us, there was two dimensions. One was a handwritten note of, I believe, 29 feet going to the short side. So board members, this is an unusually shaped lot. And the rear lot is jagged. So we typically go to the shortest setback. And this was identified as 29 feet in layman's terms without an engineer. Going from the house to the setback, exceeding beyond that into that longer jet is 41 feet, according to the applicant. So again, this is not something that this board typically allows unless we have an as-built, and I'd like to defer before you go any further to the board to have this discussion. Andrew, what do you have to say?
Well, I thought we've been allowing mortgage plans as long as they're scaled.
Right.
So I can scale them and at least make a general determination, and then if there's something that needs to be more specific. So, but for me, it's a simple fact of you have about 30 feet already from the existing house to the rear lot line, especially where on the side that you would be adding the volume. So essentially, you're now going to have a 18-foot setback, to the structure, which would make it non-conforming. So essentially, to approve this would be making a non-conforming structure. And I don't think the board can do that without a variance. So I think it's acceptable for this kind of a determination, but it requires a variance, and if the board were to consider a variance for it, I would suggest a plot plan, like an actual plot plan.
Any comments from the board? I'm in agreement with Andrew.
I'm also in agreement, Lynn, but do we have an actual plan of what he actually wants to do here?
Yes, so we're going to move on to that because I want to make sure that we've got everything. This is to scale. It's just
So Andrew, are you saying he's going outside the footprint? Is that why you're talking about a variance, or is I didn't follow that?
So, because he wants to put a roof on this. So by putting a roof on it, you're adding volume to the structure. And
so are you?
That would, by adding this by doing that, essentially.
it's a screen porch over a portion of the deck.
Area here is what's going to be now closest. And
but the deck's there. We acknowledge the deck's already there, though, right?
That's correct, but the problem is putting the roof over it.
And depending on how high the deck is, the deck can encroach the setback by half.
Stephen, what is the elevation of the deck? 4 feet or under?
No, it's over 4 feet.
Okay, so that's not going to work for this particular case.
But we're not moving any closer to that lot line. We're just
Correct.
changing what the structure is.
That's correct. Yep, the same footprint that's outlined there.
You're staying right on the existing deck, right, Stephen?
Yeah, well, it'd be a replacement of the deck as well is what's requested here, since the deck was deemed unsafe.
Yeah, but to be clear, it's the same footprint as the deck that's right there.
Correct.
Okay.
You're just making it more non-conforming by adding.
If I could just ask, Mr. Sawyer, are you extending the deck to the right, or you're sticking with the same exact footprint?
It's the same footprint. To the right would, in this view, what you're talking about to the right would just be the stairs down. Yeah.
All right.
And the roof is over where the D of the word deck, the roof is on the left side. So that's, yeah, if the roof was on the other side, you know, maybe I don't know.
Well, that's a good question, Andrew. Would it make a difference to you if the roof was on the right or the lower side, the sort of southeast side of the deck?
It's probably a door or window or a slider or.
The door exiting the house is closer to the D side of that image we're looking at, and then also on the right-hand side, the K side would be a flat roof garage. So, I mean, that's what's existing there right now.
So as far as the board goes, we can bounce this to the next hearing and allow Stephen to have an opportunity to revisit this application, and maybe there's another alternative rather than a variance.
I think yeah, I mean, we can attempt that, but
what do you think, Brian?
If you put a roof on the structure, that's what makes it, as a deck, it's fine. It's when you get into a roof, that's when it becomes a non-conforming
structure. And we can't, as a board, we can't make it, in my opinion, make it any more non-conform. Make it.
Yeah, need a variance.
Yeah, yeah.
So before this resident goes back and spends a bunch of money on engineering and trying to decide whether to file an application for variance or special permit, can we talk about what we would do with a variance right now?
Well, I think if you look at the shape of the lot, that begins your argument. You know, that's definitely an oddly shaped piece of land.
Right.
And
so we just have to look at the other reasons for a variance. Perhaps the topography also might feed into that, but the other area around it as well. So we would need an actual application.
I think what he's looking for, though, is kind of a hint from the board as to where we're going. I personally would have no issue with this going forward. You know, as he stated that the deck was unsafe, he was got to replace that. Just putting a roof over it, it's going to be unheated. It's going to be pretty much a 3-season area. So with the appropriate plans, I would be inclined to not have an issue.
I'm with Larry.
Okay.
With the appropriate plans.
Okay, so then why don't we just leave and let's let the public chime in, but it sounds like perhaps we can take a look at an application with a variance and get to it.
Can I ask the applicant a question, Chair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you spoken to the abutting neighbors?
I have spoken to several of them, yes. Specifically the one, I guess, which is the closest property line there in the back. Yes, that property. And she has absolutely no problem with it, verbally. So.
Yeah, I'm with the other members of the board. I would be fine with that, subject to, no neighbor objecting, or better yet, the support of the neighbor.
Okay, so we have Murph, and I'm guessing you're right with everybody else, right?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, okay. So Stephen, I'm going to suggest that we leave this, I'm gonna ask the public, but I'm gonna suggest that we leave this special permit open. And then perhaps put it on the next hearing and see if Nancy can get the application for a variance and get that into the proper channels.
The application for a variance then won't go on and at the deadline's tomorrow, which is not a problem. We can work with that. But that wouldn't be until a June 8th meeting.
Well, I think that's what it's stuck with. Stephen, can you live with that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think that the options are, okay. I'd like to push this off to the public. Are there any comments from the public? All right. So I'd like to make a motion to continue. I'm sorry. Continue case 2129 to June 8th. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Chris Blazos.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll see you on June 8th. Reach out to Nancy tomorrow and get this paperwork together.
Okay.
All right, Sue.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a nice evening.
You too.
Case
Thank you.
2130. We need to reach out to, just a second. We have one board member that is recused from this hearing. So that allows 4 at this point versus the 5 hearings. I mean, the 5 members. So I'm just trying to get a full 5 quorum. Just a second. I'd like to make a motion to take a 3-minute recess. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Second, Larry. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler? Aye. Larry Keane.
Aye.
Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Chris Blazos?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll be right at this in 3 minutes, hopefully. Thank you. Nancy, you ready? Nancy? Andrew?
We're here.
Okay. We should have Attorney Feeney, Steve Feeney, zooming in. Do we have him yet?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Do we have the applicant here for 31 Branch Street?
Yes, yes, you do, Madam Chair. This is Terry McGovern from Stenbeck and Taylor.
Hi, Terry. So currently we have 4 members here. Steve Feeney is in the process of zooming in. It shouldn't be but a minute or two before he's part of our meeting. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to get started with the 4 members.
Okay.
He, of course, has already read so I'm going to just read it into the record. And I'm hoping that Nancy or Andrew will let me know when Mr. Feeney is with us.
We will.
All righty. All right. Very good. So this is case 2130, Michael Kiley Family Trust. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-9.02B, 305-9.02C, and 305-10.10 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 7.8 foot by 11.6 foot 2-story addition, an 8 foot by 9 foot deck, and to reconstruct the 12.5 foot by 22.5 foot garage on the property located at 31 Branch Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel N0604-16 and is located in an R3 zoning district. So Terry, if you'd like to get started, you'll see that Andrew is going to put up the attachments that were provided to the board. And as we're going, you can explain what's going on.
Okay, that saves me some screen share.
Yep.
And we're in front of the board for a dimensional special permit for an existing non-conforming structure at 31 Branch Street. And what the applicant wishes to do is close in, right now the house is currently L-shaped. It's an over 100-year-old structure, and it has a small existing addition. If Andrew can blow that plan up a little bit, has a small existing addition off the back of it, which currently contains a kitchen. And what he would like to do is to enclose that L-shaped corner, which is 7.6 feet wide and 11 feet deep, and put a bathroom, actually a 2-story addition, which would have a bathroom, full bathroom on the first, and I believe half bathroom on the second floor, and allow him to rearrange the interior living space, and then simply to reconstruct the deck at ground level the way it is now across the back. That side of the structure will be no closer than existing. We have our closest point is 7.7 feet in the front, and it will be 7.9 feet at the corner of the addition, as well as the corner of the deck in the rear. We're showing me flip this up a little bit. Because we're at the same depth, we'll be 28.1 feet to the rear corner of the structure, which is the same as the existing, and 19 feet to the deck. The architect provided a couple of elevation views that show that essentially that on this view, the dotted line that you see through there is approximately the area of the addition. So it will have a slightly lower roof pitch. The two windows facing that side for the bathroom. And then the rear elevation shows the existing lower portion, which is where the kitchen is now with that rear door. There's a chimney there that will be removed. It's unstable. And the area that peaks above that kitchen and matches into the existing roof line would be the area of the addition. And then the deck would extend out from that. He also wishes to reconstruct the existing garage. And Andrew, if you could get back just to that. He would like to enlarge it slightly. Right now, you can't really get a vehicle inside of it. So we would like to enlarge that a little bit. So we'll run that by the board at the same time. It is an existing detached structure. And we have been through the Conservation Commission. They've already closed the hearing and issued an orders of conditions on that. So with that, I'll come back to the board for questions. Thank you.
So I'd like Andrew to weigh in on this because this is also a variance, and I'd like to have him give us his 2 cents. So Andrew, can you give us a hand on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the big thing here is the distance between the garage and the house, is, you know, basically the crux of this one. It is a special permit, right? So, I kind of felt that aspect of it is what needed actually a variance. Was to have this distance be lower, less than what it currently is. Because the bylaw specifically requires 10 feet.
Right.
So that was really only my concern with it, other than, you know, working out with them, you know, the basic flood zone stuff when it comes to the building permit.
So the existing garage is 10.4 by 18.4, is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so the point where it meets from the corner of that existing garage to the corner of the house.
They attach the two with a little roof, Andrew, would it then?
I'm trying to. Is there something that I'm not seeing in that 9.6, Terry?
The 9.6 is the existing. By lengthening it, he is bringing it closer to the existing structure.
Right. Do you have a solution to this?
Well, I mean, he could apply for the variance to do that or connect it. I do remember us running into a similar situation on Island Street about 4 or 5 years ago. And I forget exactly what the remedy was at that particular time. It was just up the street from this. If it's a matter of attaching that could be done with a covered walkway or something of that nature. He did say if a variant, which I didn't realize it was a variance, but if that would be unacceptable, he would simply rebuild it in the same location, or at least maybe try to step it a little bit so that he can get something into it for storage.
So you're suggesting to change the proposed garage and keep yourself 9.6 and just make, I don't know, extend it off to the right or do some other creative architectural changes?
So it wouldn't even be the 9.6, Lynn. It's this point on the existing deck
Okay,
Right.
that's what I'm trying to,
to this point on the corner of the house, right? I can zoom in a little bit more.
thank you. I'm working off my, see, I've got my pretty granny glasses on.
I'll zoom right in then for you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Okay.
So we're talking from this corner of the existing garage
Yeah,
to this corner of the deck. That's really the distance that matters. So
Okay.
that's the current non-conforming distance. So really that distance should be maintained, or if it's going to be decreased, that distance should have a variance. You know?
yeah, I'm
to be
with you.
addressed.
Now that I can see it.
Because the bylaw requires 10 feet, you know, we're non-conforming at the current distance, but if we're going to shrink it even more to make it more non-conforming, is what would require the variance.
Terry, you with him on that?
Yep, no, I understand exactly what he's saying.
Okay, so let's move on from that particular situation to the other, there were several other.
Hi,
Let
Lynn.
you
No.
continue.
Lynn, Mr. Feeney joined a little while ago.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Mr. Feeney. I'm going to take a roll call on you. Can you hear me? Steve Feeney?
Chairperson, I can hear you just
Hi, dear. How are you?
yourself.
Nice to see you in that righteous beard.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Looking for an excuse to shave it off, but
Yeah, I'm not giving you one. Okay, so you have been listening on. I am just asking you
no,
because
yes,
okay, thank you.
I had audio on first, trying to figure out. I left my my computer at work, so.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Lynn, before we move on from this, am I
Sure.
correct that with Andrew, if they connected these two structures, the garage and the home, that distance would be, that issue would be cleared? Is that correct?
That, oh, you're asking Andrew, because
I don't believe so, quite honestly. I believe that raises a whole new issue because you're now taking that garage, structurally connecting it to the house. And now this is considered the primary structure, and now your primary structure is a foot 1.7 from the lot line. You've now made your primary structure non-conforming, more non-conforming. I don't think it's a viable option to do other than with a variance again,
Okay.
But now you're, obviously any new structure here, 0.8 feet from the lot line, 1.7 feet from the lot line, you're going to have to, those are going to be rated assemblies, rated walls. They're so close, in fact, that you can't have any window or door openings on these two walls. But by structurally connecting it to the house, making it part of the structure, you're making the whole structure more non-conforming.
Okay, we're increasing the non-conformity and opening a whole nother bag of worms.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And I know the board has done that in the past, and I will just say that the one job that they did in the past was a lot of problems for the zoning enforcement officer and building commissioner. So it was not the best solution.
All right, let's do it.
What'd you say, Brian?
I said, all right, let's do it.
That's a typical Brian Murphy. Glad to have you with us. Okay, so Terry, let's get back to the other pieces of this pie and move on from that, because you're obviously going to have to work on that. Unless you think that at this point we're better off to leave the record open and move on to another date.
I think that would be the best solution. I think unless we have, because I would want to reach back out to my client who is not in state at the moment.
Yeah.
The addition he's pretty set on. I think with the garage, he and I have discussed this a couple of times. And he did want to enlarge it, but I think once I explain, the entire process to him, he may be willing to change that.
Yeah,
And
that may be
I do get the not connecting part, because as I'm thinking of what happened on Island Street, I think that was something similar that occurred over there as well. And the fact that it brought the whole structure into further nonconformity just created, like you said, it created a different set of problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to, before we go to that, I'd like to just see if there's any comments from the public. Case 2130.
This is architect Jim Duffy, and I'm just offering if there's any questions, regarding the addition itself. I'm happy to answer them.
Jim, I'm going to, unless you're unavailable on the June 8th meeting, I'm going to suggest that we move this hearing to that meeting and deal with everything at that time.
Okay, sure. No, yeah, I've just been listening in. I just wanted to, if there was anything, and if folks had any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I looked at it beforehand. I'm sure the other board members did. I didn't see anything glaring, but I'm sure we'll get to it at the next hearing, unless the other board members have something to say and excuse the architect from the next hearing. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to continue case 21-30. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Seconded by Larry Keane.
Lynn,
All those, yes.
is that continued to May 25th?
Let me see how many hearings do we have on that particular date?
I think only 4, maybe 3 new ones.
Okay, so the other one went to June 8th. Yeah, let's backpedal and make a suggestion with your approval. Terry, are you okay if we go to May 25th? Does that give you enough time?
Let's go to the 25th. I can have the conversation with him tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Regarding the garage.
And if it doesn't work, reach out to Nancy.
Yeah, then I can always ask to go to the 8th.
Okay, very good.
The only thing that the 25th won't handle is if a variance is needed.
Right, correct.
Okay, so you guys are both on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as the board is concerned, I'm going to start that again. I'd like to make a motion that we move case 21-30 to May 25th, date certain, 6:30. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Seconded by Larry Keane. All those in favor, Lynn Fidler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Chris Felisos,
Aye.
and Steve Feedy.
Aye.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Terry, appreciate your time.
Lynn, may I ask one separate question very quickly?
Sure.
I noticed when you did the continued hearings early, you went past 115 Monitor Road, 2108. Is that going to be on later, or did you just jump over that unintentionally, or was there a procedural issue in that?
That particular case has been bounced. Are you part of that particular case?
It's
Yes,
okay,
and I believe Jay Herzog is on too.
Oh, okay. Unless the board objects, I'm happy to go straight to that, where that was in the continued hearings. Are there any problems with doing that with the board? No. Okay, Terry, I'm gonna read this back into the record. I've already done it, but this is on so many times. So we're gonna just go to 2108, and then we'll go back to 2131. Okay, so 2108, petitioner seeking a special permit in accordance with, sorry. Just a second. 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct an 8-foot by 34-foot 3-season porch on the existing dwelling on the property located at 115 Monitor Road, which is further identified on the assessor's map as the on parcel K1014-27. So this goes back to the very beginning of the year, 2108. And I have from my notes that a site plan, and Jason was their rep.
Yep.
And was there an as-built prepared prior? And in my opinion, it was becoming no more non-conforming setbacks.
Yeah, we were lacking a plot plan.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
So this is really what we were looking at. So
Right.
Andrew, want to just blow it up a little bit for us? Zoom in. For those of us with little monitors, thank you. Appreciate it. So Terry, want to just go over the setbacks with us, and then I think we can move to close this.
Okay, very, very briefly, the nonconformity on, well, actually nonconformity is on both sides because it's a 60-foot wide lot. The closest point on both corners are, if you're standing on the street, 10.4 on the left side of the property, right side on the screen, and 13.3 in the front right corner, left side of your screen. This porch will be stepped in approximately a foot on each side so that those setbacks will be increased. And with respect to the front setback, where we're allowed 15 feet, will be 16.8 feet to this three-season porch, with the only thing extending out just being the landing. The existing structure is 25 feet, so we have plenty of room to fit that 8-foot wide porch across the front and not create a nonconformity with respect to the setback there.
Okay. Any questions? Andrew, are you good?
I don't have any problems with this.
Okay. Board members? Any questions from the public? All righty. I'd like to make a motion to close case 2108 for 115 Monitor Road. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Seconded by Larry Keane. All those in favor of closing, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Oh, you're still here. Steve, is this the last hearing for you for this evening?
Yeah, for me, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine. Chris Felisos?
Aye.
Okay. I'll close. All those in favor, do I have of granting the special permit in accordance with 305-10.12? Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Thank you, Larry. So board members, this is to grant the special permit. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Steve Feeney,
Aye.
Larry Keane, did I already do him?
Aye.
And Chris Felisos.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Steve Feeney, for zooming in with us. I appreciate you stepping away from your other important business.
Very much, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for letting me help get that off your calendar.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while.
Yeah, it's been hanging around for a bit.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. Okay, we have case 2131, Stanley Cusey and Laura Kiefer.
Yes, hi, Lynn. This is Mara Kiefer. Can you hear me?
Kiefer, hi, how are you?
Hi, very good, thank you. Yeah, my husband Stan is here too.
Okay, Stan, hi. I'm going to read this into the record and then we'll get right to it.
Okay, thank you.
2131, Stanley, would you say that again?
Yeah, sure, Cusey.
Cusey and Laura
Kiefer.
Kiefer.
Yeah, say
Okay.
a mouthful.
I know. My mouth starts to go by the time we've been at it for a little bit. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshall Municipal Code to construct a 25-foot by 28-foot one-story addition for a three-season porch on the property located at 747 Ocean Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel L09-10-17, is located in the R3 zoning district. So I appreciate you being here this evening. We are going to put up a few of your attachments, and why don't you explain what you have planned as we get them up in front of us?
Okay, so I want to make sure that you have the drawing by Bob Crawford of Millbrook Survey in there. Yeah, I think you do. Going kind of fast. Okay, yeah, so what it is we're proposing a simple 3-season porch room, for lack of a better description, attached to the house, 1-story. We have a 7,500 square foot lot, and it is a trapezoid shaped lot. It is an irregular lot, but as it turns out, the way the addition is going to be constructed, we have actually larger setbacks in the back. You can see where Bob put the 35.2 from the one corner of the addition, and the other is 45.2 to the rear of our property line. And the side yard setback is 23.4 and 33.5. So we, meet those setbacks. It is attached to the house. And then the front, we set it back further than the existing structure, which is a 1948 structure. It's an old structure. So we increased the front yard setback by 2 feet on one corner and then 13.7 on the other. And it's a pretty simple concept, really. We provided all the documentation you asked for, and if you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
Any questions from the board?
Originally, I think my builder approached Andrew about just getting a permit, but I believe the reason we're in front of you is our lot is less than 10,000 square feet, for one thing.
Right.
And so, yeah, so that's why we're here.
Okay.
But we are fortunate enough to have one of the larger lots in town.
Okay.
It's funny, like they just tore the house down next to us today, and they're putting up a pretty close to a 3,000 square foot home. It's going to be a beautiful home. And it does seem like the trend around here is to build, bigger homes. The 2 houses down from us and then across the street. So we think it will fit in nicely. It's not as big as some of the ones around us, but it's, I think it will really be a nice, addition for us. We could really use the space. We have no storage.
Okay. So I'm noticing that there's a shed on the property, so this board would not endorse that shed. And I'm also noticing that you have an abutter that is overstepping your property line. Is that correct?
Well, that remains to be seen. When they submitted their plan in 1999, their survey said it was on their, on their property. And so your town records show that it's on our property. And the survey, this analysis here done by Bob Crawford shows it is on our property. But, until the day, our setbacks are still what they are, based on our property survey that we have.
Right.
And so on the side, you can see it's 11.1 at the front corner and 22.3 at the back corner, side yard setback.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the board? No. Did we see the actual addition itself? I have it here.
I don't have plans for that in this file.
Well, this is the only plan we have. I mean, until, we don't want to go spend $5,000 to $10,000 on, other plans before we get the first space with your board. We're frankly a little surprised we needed to be here tonight. But we're happy to be here, but we didn't think we needed to be. We thought we could go right to a building permit because we're not increasing any nonconformity. And we do have a right to, you know, to extend our structure as long as we meet the dimensional regulations and the maximum buildable floor area ratios, which we are meeting that. It's under 40%. So we don't have detailed plans, but what we would ask, if you're comfortable with it, like in approving it, just we have to go in front of the building department and we have to do, you know, comply with everything they ask for, whatever details they need. And that's going to be, you know, fairly detailed plans. So that's our next step.
Okay, so Mara, this board traditionally has every permit has an architectural rendering of some sort. Without having an architectural rendering, I don't know how this board feels about moving forward with granting a special permit for a non-conforming house. I understand you're staying within the footprint, but it is still in front of this board. So, Andrew, would you weigh in?
Lynn, if I could say something, this Brian. Yeah, we used to approve things on the foundation, and if that got approved, then the structure would come in. And I would assume that if there's any there.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that's it.
And as far as I'm concerned, so the reason, for clarification, the reason it had to come before zoning is because it's a non-conforming lot size, and you have the existing structure has a non-conforming side setback and a non-conforming front setback, and you're adding volume to a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot, and the bylaw requires a special permit for that. So that's the reason why. Now, I agree that the addition is posing no posing no more nonconformities and is within the setbacks and within the setbacks for the existing nonconformities, right? And I don't have a problem with the ZBA approving the addition, you know, for that area on the lot. But we will have to have discussions going forward about what can be built, substantial improvements, you know, all the things that are required for building construction in a flood zone. So we're going to have, you know, some discussions, and she's correct. We can have all those discussions as far as the building permit for, you know, how it's got to get elevated, or if the, you know, what the foundation's got to be like and everything else. Just being like, she's going to have to go through Conservation Commission as well before an addition in the flood zone. So I don't know if they've done that yet.
No, Andrew, we haven't. And yes, you're absolutely right. We have to go in front of them with a notice of intent. I mean, there's an awful lot of work to be done. But this was the first logical step for us to kind of get this out of the way, for lack of a better description. And then there's much more detailed plans, like you say, the 50% rule for, you know, FEMA and all that stuff. So and you know, you granting the special permit doesn't give us a green light to just do whatever we want. We have to still go
At least
the building and the Conservation Commission. So
I agree. It's getting the footprint for the zoning of it, and allowing the footprint for whatever structure gets built in that place.
Right.
Well, we can always do what we did for the prior applicant, which is to give a straw poll or an informal opinion where we're going to go with this thing, if that sort of middles the two opinions.
I think it's difficult to grant a special permit without seeing an addition and allowing the neighbors and whatnot to see what the final outcome is going to be like. That's just my personal opinion.
Can I respond to that, Lynn?
Sure.
Yeah, so I have talked to my neighbors, and I've talked to Kim on the corner of 6th and 139, and she's very excited about it. I talked to Russ, who's on 31 6th Ave, and we've gone over it, and he thinks it's great. He did it's 12 years ago. His original structure was a lot like this one, actually, even shaped the same. And they did a nice, I think they did a 2-story addition. neighbor 2 houses down from me, I have all of the data here. They put in, their lots around 3,500 square feet. And they put, let's see here, a 2,348 total finished area with 64% building coverage. We're under the 40%. I mean, I could go on and on about everyone in this neighborhood not meeting, you know, the building area coverage, whereas we are. And I'm just not understanding why I have to spend all the money for architects and all this other stuff to be in front of this board, you know, when I'm meeting the criteria under the law, and from what I understand, which is to not increase the nonconformity. We're not asking for a variance. We don't need one. We're meeting all the dimensional requirements and the maximum building area requirements. Now, those discussions and those calculations are for the building department and the Conservation Commission. So it's more of, we just want this simple addition, the 25 by 28. You see the setbacks, and we'd like to, we're asking you to grant the special permit tonight. We think you have enough information in front of you. At least I hope you will feel that way, because.
Lynn, could I speak real quick?
Yes, sure.
I hate to cut you off, but I think I'm in agreement with what Brian said, that what you have for the foundation, the footprint, would be sufficient for myself. And I think the rest is going to come out in the building permit process and the rest of the directions you go. I do realize it's a major expense for the set of plans, and you pretty much want to heads up where you're going. And I wouldn't have any issue approving with just on this footprint and the rest coming out in the building permit process with Andrew.
Thank you very much. That's what we're asking for, decision on what we've submitted.
So this is one of those situations where this board, I understand what you're saying, Larry, and I understand what Brian's saying, and I understand the monetary requirements that come in as a part of coming in front of this board. However, the actual requirements of the board are to have a rendering, and we can waive that in certain circumstances. But I don't want that to be the general rule, but that every special permit comes in with a site plan for no matter where it is and without any architectural renderings. I don't want that to be the flavor of this board. So that's where I stand. Any other comments?
No, I do understand what you're saying, Lynn, but I think also each situation is a little unique, and this neighborhood has been extensively renovated already. And to me, this addition, what she's looking to do would be fine. The architectural rendering, I think, is going to come out with Andrew. But I do understand what you mean.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So the things like the height and all the other parts of the puzzle aren't available to us. So any comments from the public? Okay, so I still have Mark Stiles that I haven't heard from. I believe I haven't heard from Chris, but I'm.
I'll tell you very, very frankly, I'm inclined to say yes, but if it's an issue of setting precedent, I would say to the applicant, look, you have my vote once you have the plan, which you're going to have to get anyways.
Well, Chris, I wouldn't be worried about setting precedent because we take everything on a case-by-case basis. So, and this is a special permit, you know, essentially what we're saying is that you're allowed to do what you're doing, but the problem is you have a pre-existing non-conforming structure. So you're coming to us to say that it's okay what you're doing, you're within your setbacks and percentages. So this would be, if you took out the special permit and say this was a conforming lot, this person would just go to the building department, apply for a building permit, and that would be the end of it. We would have, you know, we wouldn't review it. We're just saying you have a pre-existing non-conforming lot. We agree that you're within your right to do what you're doing.
I see your point. I'm actually trying to find some middle ground here, but I see what you're saying.
I'd like Tony to weigh in. Anthony Riley is our town council for this evening and have his voice heard. Anthony, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So does the board require architectural renderings for special permit applications?
That's where we are with this. And I understand.
I frankly, I've been listening and I'm having a hard time understanding what everyone's talking about. It's either a requirement or it's not. I mean, by saying we're not going to set precedent by just allowing it this time, it's, that does set precedent. That's what precedent is. So it's not up to me, but I think if there's an application process, it should probably be followed by everyone who applies. Not just waived because someone doesn't want to comply with the application process. But that's just my opinion. I'm not a board member. It's up to the board.
But I'd like to, okay, so I've gone through the bylaws and, I'm an attorney too, so I appreciate what you're saying and that you're right on and thank you very much. But I don't see where in your bylaw you require that. And so you do take each of one of these on a case-by-case basis. So, I mean, if you look at what your criteria and your application, it doesn't say that anywhere and it doesn't say it that I'm aware of in any bylaw. And I just would like to mention one thing, if you don't mind. This particular neighborhood is slowly getting improved, but there are a lot of blighted properties here. And I think there are a lot of folks who would really like to, upgrade their properties, which I think is desperately needed around here. But they're afraid to do it because it's so expensive, and they have to go through all these boards, and it can be a daunting task, for many people, especially, older folks. And I think this special permit process is, my understanding, is supposed to be a more informal and easier process, and we're made to do it because at some point the town increased the minimum lot size from, I guess, 7,500 to 10,000, which, and the setbacks increased those as well. So, under Chapter 48, Section 6 state law, that overrides, pretty much a contrary local bylaw, but I don't think you have a contrary local bylaw. And we're not trying to skirt any requirements or we're not asking you to waive anything. I think this is the second drawing we've submitted. And so we spent more money on it because there weren't enough setbacks in the first one. So we added more, and I couldn't find the original one anyway. So we had Bob Crawford come in, and this is our best faith effort to give you everything we thought you needed to be comfortable about making a decision. Like I say, we're lucky enough to have a larger lot. And we meet all these setbacks. We only have one adjacent to Butter. There's no one on all the other sides of us, and it's just Ocean Street. So it's not,
I think we've heard, we've heard the argument. I think the problem is you don't have the architecturals. We've recently accepted the same thing, which was a proposed addition on Whitford Circle without architectural. So, I don't believe there's any precedent being set here. We just did that within the last 2 meetings.
Any more comments from the board?
I agree with the applicant and what she's saying about these obstacles that are being placed in front of our residents who want to do things. I think we need to make a concerted effort at helping our residents beautify the town and make some exceptions here and there, whether it's precedent or waivers or what have you. I understand the cost of construction right now. I understand what's going on. It's Attorney Kiefer, if you want to put in your application to the zoning board, I would encourage that. But I would be voting today to allow this.
Thank you very much. It's very much appreciated.
Chris, are you still on the same page? Because I'm going to move to close. Any questions, comments? I don't have them. Tony, do you have that bylaw for 1202?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm looking for in here. But whatever, I mean, it's, sounds like I was not convincing, which is fine. It's, you can just do whatever you want.
Well, like
I
I
mean,
said,
again, I'm just looking at this. She's given the exact area of where her addition is going to go. The lacking the architectural rendering, I don't see as being an obstacle for me. The height, everything else is going to come out with a building permit. I just don't see an issue.
I'm sorry, there's not more detail, but the height is lower than the existing structure. It's just one
Sure,
story.
absolutely,
Yeah,
but
yeah, and the roof line will go
I
underneath the existing.
I understand. But even if it was over the height, Andrew would not allow that. That would be pointed out by Andrew and addressed.
Right, right.
I'm just looking at quickly. the site
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
drawn at scale. I'm sorry, just a second.
Oh, yeah, take your time, Lynn.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We have a lot on the agenda.
Oh, I know it.
Chair, do you mind if I comment on council's
Yeah.
statement? You're legally accurate. There's no question about it. Your argument is convincing, and it would be convincing to a judge. There's no question about it. All I'm saying is, as an informal board, a peer review, I think we need to be reasonable and flexible in certain circumstances. I haven't heard from any neighbors. I'm assuming they're in support. I just don't understand why we can't be flexible and modify here and there where it makes sense. That's all. I'm not saying that you're not convincing. If I was the judge, I would agree with you. Put that in the appellate record, right? But who's going to appeal this? Are we doing the right thing by the residents or not? That's all.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's keep going here, folks. I'd like to make a motion to close case 2131. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
All those in favor of closing? Lynn Fidler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
And Chris Belisos?
Aye.
All those in favor of granting the special permit for case 2131? Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Said that wrong.
No.
So we're seconded for Larry Keane to grant case 2131 special permit in accordance with 305-10.12. Second by Larry. All those in favor? Lynn Fidler, nay. Brian Murphy?
I open. Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Chris Belisos?
Aye.
So this passes with a vote of 4-1. And Mara, you're all set.
Thank you all very much for your time.
I appreciate your
Very
help.
appreciate it. Yeah, okay, you have a good evening. All right,
Thank
take
you.
care. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Do we have case 2132, 83 Preston Terrace?
Yes, I'm here. Michael Rossino. I'm the principal and owner of Ember Architects, and I'm here representing the homeowner Irene Fusco, who's also on as well.
Okay.
I'm here as well.
Okay, I can hear you. Thank you. Case 2113, Irene Fusco, petitioner seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-9.02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 6-foot by 6-inch by 34-foot by 6-inch covered unenclosed front porch and a 6-foot by 7-inch by 16-foot 10-inch one on the right side on the property located 83 Preston Terrace, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being a parcel I-1603-07 and is located in an R3 zoning district. So here is your application. Why don't you tell us what you have planned, Michael?
It's actually hopefully pretty simple. We are just proposing to do a wraparound porch, and we're here for a special permit because it is, the lot is a little short of square footage, making it a non-conforming lot. And on the left side, the pre-existing non-conformity, it doesn't meet the setback. However, the unenclosed porch that we're adding will meet the front and side yard setbacks. And we are here just for that singular reason. We're not enclosing or adding any more living space. It is just for an unenclosed covered front porch.
Okay,
The right side setback conforms, as does the front for the new porch.
all right. This seems pretty simple.
We have some, if we have some before and afters. The property has been run down, pretty dilapidated, and we are going through and really upgrading the entire Preston Terrace. That street is undergoing, like many places in Marshfield, a lot of the homes there are being renovated nicely, and this is just going to be an addition to that. My firm has actually renovated several houses on Preston Terrace, so we're looking forward to this one as well as a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Okay. Any questions from the board? The shed's going to remain?
It is planning on remaining as of the moment, yes.
Okay, so the board will not endorse the shed as a condition. Any questions from the public? All righty. I'd like to make a motion that we close case 2132, 83 Preston Terrace. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
and Chris Blisos.
Aye.
Case 2132 is now closed. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit with the condition of not endorsing the shed. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Chris Blisos.
Aye.
All righty. All set.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Do we have David and Renee Kohler? .45 Longview Terrace.
Yeah, I'm Dick Rockwood, here to represent the Kohler's.
Hi, Dick. I'm going to read it into the record. 21-33, David and Renee Kohler. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 42-foot by 26-foot one-story addition and a 10-foot shed roof on the second floor of the property located at 45 Longview Terrace, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel K1004-10, is located in the R3 zoning district. Dick Rockwood's here, so why don't you give us your information and we'll get this done.
Okay, do we have the site plan? Thank you. So our, even though the drawings are skewed here, the from Longview, the right side of the house is the non-conforming portion of the house. Shaded in red is the addition that we're adding on. We're basically adding on a new mudroom entry, family room, downstairs bedroom, and the shed that we discussed. And so it's a one-story with a full basement underneath it. The house is a two-story Cape style. And where it says existing, exist there, and where it says existing house, on that side wall, that's where our 10-foot wide shed's gonna be, just so we can add a bathroom on the second floor, which you'll see on the architecturals. So as I mentioned, we're here basically because we're non-conforming on
Just
that.
clarify, you mean shed dormer, not shed.
Yeah, shed dormer, thank you. Andy.
Thank you.
This is the rear view. So that's the original house where Andrew was just pointing. The left side is that little 10-foot wide shed dormer on the left. The one on the right, looking from the rear, is existing. This is the rear view of the house. That is all the addition that we're adding. So so the existing house, I believe it says 28 feet. There is the existing. And everything to the left side of that, the half of it is what we're adding. It's all 1 story with a full basement.
All right. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Andrew, you all set?
No, yep, this is fine with me.
All right, good enough. I'd like to make a motion to close case 21-33. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Seconded by Larry. All those in favor of closing, Lynn Fidler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Sorry.
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Chris Felisos?
Aye.
All right. Hearing is closed. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit in accordance with 305-10.12. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Second by Larry Keane. All those in favor of granting 2133, Lynn Fidler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Chris Felisos?
Aye.
Hearing is now closed with a vote of 5-0, and it has passed. The special permit is granted. Thank you, Dick.
All right, thank you all.
Have a
Good
nice
night.
evening. Okay, folks, we have 2 more hearings. It is currently 8:17. Do we have Kathleen Sullivan? We have 2 more hearings, and then we go to the cell tower thing. 2134, do we have Kathleen Sullivan, trustee, for 226 Bay Avenue?
You do. This is Kevin Sullivan. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good evening. We will, we know you guys are busy. We'll keep this short. So my mother
Well,
is
I'm gonna
Kathleen.
just-
I'm speaking. I'm sorry.
If I could just stop you for a second, I'm going to read it into the record, and then
Sure.
the screen's all yours. Kathleen Sullivan, case 2134. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to enclose 9-foot by 41.5 foot of the existing porch, to enclose 9 feet by 41.5 feet of the existing porch and create a 9-foot by 6-foot porch on the property located at 226 Bay Avenue, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel MO5-0909 and is located in R3 zoning district. All right, now the microphone is yours.
Thank you. As I said, we know you guys are busy. We'll keep this brief. I'm Kevin Sullivan. My mother, this is the house that I grew up in. I now live across the street with my wife at 229 Bay Ave. And here with us tonight, who will be answering any questions and making our presentation, we have Dan Altobello of Merrill Engineers and Jeremiah Eck of Eck McNeely Architects. I'm happy to turn it over to them and answer any questions anyone might have along the way.
Thank you, Kevin. Could we have the first floor plan?
Is this Dana speaking?
No, that was me, Jeremiah Eck.
Jeremiah, okay, thank you.
There should be a first floor plan immediately after that. That's it, thank you. So the Sullivans have lived in the Bay Avenue area for over 100 years. them and their extended family. In fact, Frank Sullivan lives at 234 Bay Ave in a house that has belonged to the Sullivans for over 100 years. Kathy Sullivan and Kevin Sullivan Sr. in 1985 bought the current property at 226 Bay Ave. And Kevin Sr. passed away a number of years ago, and Kathy wants to now spend more time there. They have spent many summers and seasonal events there, but she now wants to spend more year-round time. So effectively what we're trying to do is give her more space. The first floor plan that I'm showing, you'll see there's a porch that wraps around the house on the right-hand side of the plan. That's on the left. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the new plan in orange. And what we're effectively doing is enclosing the current porch, not going out beyond the existing footprint, to give her expanded living area on the first floor, a new bathroom, and some more storage. And on the left, we're also extending slightly out onto, again, the existing porch to give her a slightly larger kitchen. You have the second floor plan? Upstairs, you can see the master bedroom that is in the middle of the plan top right now, and three additional bedrooms. What we're doing is going out over the new existing addition of porch below to expand her master bedroom, give her a new bathroom, and a new laundry area. And finally, the rendering. You can see here before and after. To the left is the porch as it exists today. And you can see that what we're doing is enclosing that porch with a new living area. And secondly, up on top, extending the master bedroom suite. So that's essentially what we're trying to do, is give Kathy more room so she can live there year round. I'll turn it now over to Dana, who will explain the site plan.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Dana Altabello from Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. As you mentioned earlier, this project is located at 226, which is on the easterly side of Bay Avenue. The site's located within the R3 residential waterfront zoning district, as well as the floodplain zoning overlay district. The property consists of approximately 5,000 square feet. Within this district, the minimum square foot for the minimum size for a lot in this district is 10,000 square feet. So this is a non-conforming lot with respect to the minimum lot size. Currently on the site, as you can see on the left-hand side of the plan, the dwelling sits approximately 2.5 feet from the northerly sideline, and it's approximately 8.8 feet from the southerly property line, both of which sidelines have a 15-foot minimum in this district. It is also approximately 11.2 feet from the rear property line, which has a 30-foot minimum setback. The applicant has requested a special permit to alter a portion of the pre-existing non-conforming porch structure, which Jeremiah just discussed. Specifically, they would like to convert approximately a 41.5-foot portion of the deck on the southerly side of the porch itself, as well as a 6-foot by 9-foot area in the northerly portion of the existing deck. This alteration will take place within existing porch area. There will be nothing outside of the existing limits of the porch. The existing side setbacks will be maintained. There will be no more non-conforming than what's currently out there. And the front setback will meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw. All other dimensional requirements will be met on this property. I think that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. All new construction will be done on new pilings, which will meet the state building code with regards to the construction of the pilings, et cetera. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
So we have lot area. You're at 5,000, you need 10,000 side setback. You said 2.5, your plan's reading to 2.7 plus or minus. That's fine.
For the new construction, the existing is 2.5.
Okay.
In its worst case.
This thing, it says 2.7. plus or minus.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Looking at, whatever, it's close. Says plus or minus, so I can look at that. I'm looking at sheet 1 of 1, April 14th, 2021.
Lynn, is the existing structure on pylons currently, or piles, or?
Yes, the existing structure is on 6x6 wooden post on sonotubes. And we intend to replace them essentially in the same place, but probably 10-inch sonotubes. Or, 10-inch wood piles or 12-inch.
What about the foundation for the, like the rest of the house, the structure?
That's going to remain as is.
But what is it currently?
It's a kind of a mix of wooden post on sonotubes and some concrete, but very minimal.
In the concrete that's there, it's just the garage section
Yes.
down below?
Yes.
It's
There's
not, there's no habitable space below BFE?
No, there is a existing garage underneath the house that actually has become a storage area, but there's no living space there.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Ellen, I just want to see what it looks like on the Google Maps.
Thank you. Brian, are you all set? I was looking at the permit.
The house that has the little the 1 foot setback.
Yeah.
Will anything have to be done over there for, like the purposes of, fire protection because it's so close to the lot line? That looks like a sink and a window, or I can't tell.
There's an existing window there now. So
The fire code?
Well, if they're doing work over there, doesn't that, I don't know, but does that fall?
Yeah.
I think we can use fire code sheetrock or siding on that side of the house if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll discuss that when it comes to getting a building permit, but most likely this window won't be allowed. An existing window will be, but any new windows on this wall won't be allowed. you'll be too close to the lot line.
All right, well, let's see what the public, are there any members of the public that would like to speak or comment on this special permit, case 2134? No comments. So Andrew, the coastal wetlands district and the height concerns, I think, are taken care of for this particular project. Are you in agreement?
Yeah, their first floor elevation is well above the design flood elevation for their zone. The only thing, would be an assessment of the enclosure below, and when it comes to building permit, but we'll handle that. But as far as like substantial improvement and all that other stuff, they're already elevated above design flood elevation. So anything that they want to do is fine with FEMA and NFIP regulations, as long as the foundation is in compliance.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 100-foot riverfront setback with the cut river. Okay.
Right, and that's all conservations.
Yeah. Okay, board members, so notifying the special permit and items 1 through 10. I just went over it while we were going through. I'm sure the board has also gone through it. The proposed alteration of the existing dwelling will remain within the existing footprint of the wraparound porch and will not intensify any of the pre-existing nonconformities. All existing setbacks to the property lines will be maintained throughout the project. Okay. I'm comfortable moving forward. So this is case 2134. I'd like to make a motion to close case 2134 in regards to the special permit 10.305-10.12. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor of closing, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles? Mark Stiles?
He's not here.
Did we lose him?
Like it.
Okay. Chris Felisos?
Aye.
So we have a technical issue with Mark right now.
But can I ask?
Yep.
He's joining again right now.
Okay, thank you.
He's in.
Mark?
I'm back. Sorry, my battery died. I had to reboot up.
So you heard all of this hearing
I did.
up to the last. So currently we closed case 2134 and Larry seconded it. So I need your vote to close. Do I have your vote to close?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So we have a vote of 5-0 to close. All those in favor of granting the special permit? Here we go. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Thank you. All those in favor of granting the special permit, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
And Chris Felisos?
Aye.
And that, as I said previously, that's in conjunction with the special permit items 1 through 10. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Same to
Good night.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We have case 2135, 431 Union Street.
Hi there.
Hi, Kenny. I'm going to read this into the record.
Sure.
2135 Kenneth Robichaud. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct two 8-foot by 17.6-foot dormers on the property located at 431 Union Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being a parcel B13-01-06 and is located in an R1 zoning district. So Kenny, you'll see the deed and we're going to get right to it. Why don't you explain what you have going on?
So looking to dormer just above my kitchen and dining room area to expand my playroom and bathroom area upstairs. I'm not changing the footprint, but I'm just increasing the height of the living space up there so I can get my kids up there.
All right. So
That's it. It's pretty
thank you.
simple.
This is simple. Second. Okay. Second floor plan. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, no questions from the board, nor questions from the public. I'm just gonna look at my notes here. All righty. I'd like to make a motion to close case 2135. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Second by Larry. All those in favor of closing, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Chris Polisos?
Aye.
So it's a vote of 5-0 to close. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit in accordance with 305-10.12, recognizing items 1 through 10 are in compliance according to the board. Do I have a second for case 21?
Second, Larry Keane.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor of granting this special permit? Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
And Chris Polisos?
Aye.
All righty, so this case 2135 has passed. The special permit's all set. Good luck. Thank you very much. All right, board members, I'd like to take a 5-minute recess before we get into the cell tower on Snow Road. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Chris Polisos?
Aye.
5-minute recess is currently 8:38. Thank you. Andrew?
I'm here. Did you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm here.
All right. Do we have the applicant for 2128 American Towers LLC?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Yes, Daniel Klasnick on behalf of the applicant.
Hello. I'm sorry you're at the very end, but sometimes that happens. Let's read this into the record and then I'll let you give us your presentation. So this is case 2128 American Towers LLC. Actually, before I get started, I have to make sure I have a roll call back. Lynn Fiddler's here. Brian Murphy,
Here?
thank you. Larry,
I'm here.
Mark Stiles,
Here.
Chris Polisos.
Here.
All right, good enough. Thank you, everybody. Case 2128, American Towers LLC. In accordance with 305-10.11 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, the petitioner is seeking a variance for relief from 305-5.04 Table of Use Regulations, Retail and Service, 23B. Chapter 305-6.05, 305-6.10, 305-11.12, B1, 305-11.12, B2, 305-11.12, B3. A special permit also under 305-5.0422 and 305-5.0423. Accessory communication tower to a non-residential use, 305-10.10 and 305-11.12. And a site plan approval under 305-12.02 to construct a self-supporting 120-foot monopole tower, the ground space of which will be surrounded with a 6-foot high chain link fence with a 12-foot wide locked entrance gate, which will house the telecommunications tower, equipment cabinets, and generator of Verizon Wireless, and the equipment for future co-locators on the property located at 0 Snow Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel H0704-25A and is located in a B1 zoning district. So Attorney Klasnick, if you'd like to get started, the board is here and willing to listen.
Thank you. There had been a discussion that I might be able to share my screen. I don't know if that's something that's possible.
Andrew, is that something that you're willing to do?
Yep, he is now a co-host and can share his screen. Take it away.
Okay, very good.
Is that visible to the board?
It is.
Okay. First, once again, my name is Daniel Klasnick. I'm the attorney representing America Tower. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to meet with the board this evening to review its proposal to install a wireless telecommunications tower on the property at 0 Snow Road. Also appearing this evening, Brian Lanier, the professional engineer for American Tower, and Keith Valente, the RF engineer for Verizon Wireless. Although I'm sure this board is very familiar with this property, it's basically across the street from Town Hall. It includes the Webster Square Shopping Center and has been read into the record that is within the B1 zoning district. American Tower has leased a portion of that property, 35 by 75 feet. It's on the wooded portion of the property. We also have pertinent rights for access and utility easements, which would be over the existing paved parking area. The monopole is proposed to be located towards the rear of the lot. I'm sure folks are familiar. I think that there used to be a Papa Gino's at that particular side, but the tower would be located behind the shopping center building in an undeveloped wooded portion. As I noted, we have already reviewed the installation with the Conservation Commission. There was a little bit of work that was going to be taking place for utilities within the buffer. The Conservation Commission did grant the de minimis approval for that work. They just wanted to be assured, I guess there's an existing gate that gives access to that property to the rear, which is subject to a conservation restriction. They wanted to make certain that we weren't blocking that and that we would certainly coordinate with the Conservation Administrator before undertaking any work. As has been already read into the record, we're requesting relief in the form of variances. Well, really, it was my assessment that the proposed facility is an allowed use as an accessory tower to a non-residential use in the B1 zoning district. I wanted to ensure in the event that it was necessary to get relief for a tower that exceeds the district heights of 35 feet, that I included that in the requested relief. In regards to the screening and buffer, there's a, as I understand your bylaw, a 35-foot required vegetated buffer. I don't know if folks are familiar with that area back there, but topographically it's lower than the abutting property. So it sits down quite a bit below. So there's already existing vegetation, and there would just be a slight reduction from the 35 feet to 33 feet, 4 inches to accommodate the ground equipment for the telecommunications tower. And while the bylaw allows towers up to 150 feet in height, there is a district limitation of 35 feet. And where the proposed tower is 120 feet, we're requesting to allow the tower to exceed the maximum 35 feet by 85 feet. Yes, that wasn't entirely clear to me, given that it was allowed up to 150 feet, whether or not, once again, that dimensional standard would apply, but I did want to request that relief. And then in regards to the setbacks, the rear property line, which is that undeveloped property that is held in common ownership with the shopping center and subject to the conservation restriction, is 20 feet. And the ground equipment, or rather the tower will be 20 feet. The ground equipment is proposed to be 3 feet, and the fence would be 2 feet from that. So as I noted, that property to the rear, though, is in common ownership with the shopping center and is also subject to a conservation restriction, so it will not be developed. Let's see, the height of the tower is 120 feet. The nearest property line, as I said, is that rear property line, which is 20 feet. And then there's another property line that's 80 feet to the west. So the requested relief is to reduce the 120-foot setback for the tower, the 120-foot heights tower, by 100 feet to allow it to be 20 feet to the nearest property line. We did include with our application a stamped engineer letter certifying that the tower has been designed to accommodate a theoretical fall radius of only 63 feet. Also, while it did not appear to me, based upon my review of the zoning map and the overlay, that we were, in fact, the tower location anyways, would be within the inland coastal wetlands. I think there's some uncertainty there, so I wanted to request relief from that. And then finally, the existing building, there's an existing building located within 122 feet from the location of the tower. We request to reduce the 500-foot setback by 378 feet. As I had already noted, the tower has been designed for a theoretical fall zone radius of only 63 feet. And we are also requesting special permits under the bylaw, as well as site plan approval. Because this proposal is for a wireless facility, the permitting is also subject to the requirements of the Telecommunications Act. This really imposes additional requirements and limitations on permitting boards when they're considering facilities, particularly as it relates to those 5 major limitations, which essentially preempt a board's determination. And I've listed them just here. And the focus is generally on prohibiting wireless service. Also, the fact that any RF emissions, that's really just regulated exclusively by the FCC. So those are a couple items that I think it's always mindful for a board to consider when looking at one of these types of applications. Before really undertaking to propose this telecommunications tower, both American Tower and Verizon Wireless have undertaken really an extensive review of the area, trying to locate either existing structures or raw land candidates. We included an analysis in our application packet of the process that was undertaken. And just by way of background, this is really something that started 4 years ago, at least 4 years ago, with Verizon Wireless looking for locations, American Tower looking for locations, and really trying to focus and narrow into a site that would be suitable for the installation of the telecommunications tower, and also satisfy, the necessary Verizon Wireless network requirements. So what American Tower is requesting is to install and operate a 120-foot monopole tower at the shopping center. The tower will accommodate not only Verizon Wireless, but at least one additional wireless service provider, and it's really designed for a total of 4. The installation, as has been read into the record, will include a fenced area with access from Snow Road over the existing drive and parking area. The electric and telco service is the only utilities required, and that's going to be run underground and attached to an existing utility pole that's behind the existing shopping center. As I was always mentioned, the tower has been designed with that theoretical fall zone limitation of only 63 feet. And really, I think what we did is we tried to put together in our project brief satisfaction of not only the bylaw standards for a variance special permit, but also Chapter 40A, and then also included an analysis of the Telecommunications Act. Verizon Wireless, they're the anchor tenant here, and what they're proposing to do is to install their antennas at the 120-foot height with equipment cabinets and an emergency backup generator that will be located inside the fenced area. I guess I would just emphasize the proposal really is based upon a proven need for a facility in this area of Marshfield at the designated height. And what we've asserted in our application materials is this is what is necessary to address their significant gap in both coverage and capacity. I just wanted to include this. I'm sure as everyone is familiar with this property, but it does give you an aerial view, shows you the location of the shopping center. And as I discussed, this is the approximate location of the proposed telecommunications tower. So it's tucked in behind the existing shopping center. There's a significant buffer of trees that I had mentioned to the closest property. And then of course, the large parcel below that is the one that is in the common ownership that I indicated has the closest rear yard setback to the tower itself.
Can I interrupt you there?
Yes, you want me to go back?
Yes, please. So the location of the proposed monopole in relationship to the owner's property, what is the reasoning behind that particular location?
Well, if I could, I'd just move to the next slide.
Sure.
That might be helpful in answering.
Okay, thank you. I was also trying to get at which parcel and lot numbers, and there's quite a few intricacies.
Well, it's just the main parcel that comprises most of the shopping center. I mean, I think there are some separate parcels up here, but this is all the one shopping center parcel. And then directly behind that is a separate parcel that is subject to the conservation restriction, but is owned by the same property owner.
Okay, so the same property owner owns the abutting property and it's a separate parcel ID?
Yes.
So when in the deed itself, it read there were 10 different lots, I believe.
That would probably comprise some of these smaller lots that comprise the shopping center, but this is clearly a separate parcel. If you look at our plans, it has its own taxpayer ID number.
Okay.
So
I just want to make sure the decision itself is accurate in its description of the actual location. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. As far as choosing that particular location on the parcel, I included this plan sheet, and I think there were like 21 plan sheets, but I included this plan sheet because it gives you an overall site plan of the proposed of the property, and then in context of the proposed wireless facility. So once again, off of Snow Road, this is all existing paved parking area. And then behind where the loading docks are currently located. And then the tower would be located at this particular location with the enclosed area. This small circle here, that represents what I had discussed as far as that theoretical 63-foot fall zone. And as you can see, American Tower, as part of the review with the Conservation Commission, undertook to delineate the wetlands on this area. And then we added in the buffer zones. So basically, to keep the tower at a location that would not interfere with the operations of the shopping center and remain outside of the wetland areas, avoid that existing gate that I had mentioned at the beginning that gives access to this rear property, we placed the tower and the compound at this location to basically take into consideration all of those factors.
Andrew, Attorney Classic, could you just expand on that so we can see the abutting property in location to that monopole?
I think I'd have to get out of.
Step back.
I don't know if.
I can.
Right here. I think if I.
Yes, I'm seeing the building.
Okay.
To the left.
Right here.
Yes.
Yes, that's.
So they'd be in the fall zone?
No, the theoretical fall zone is 63 feet. Those buildings are over 122 feet, 11 inches, I believe.
All right.
And then it's actually 80 feet set back from that property line. So that property line is 80 feet as well.
All right. Thank you.
This just provides you with a closer up view of the actual ground space, which, as I had indicated, was it's 2,625 square feet. It's going to be surrounded by a 6-foot tall chain link fence. There's going to be space inside to accommodate the Verizon wireless equipment, the telecommunications tower, and then there will be additional space located for future co-locators. The electric and telco that I mentioned will come underground from the front here, and it goes off of this plan sheet, but there's an existing utility pole that will be tied into. And then, as is typical, they put a transformer in place. There's a telco and a meter board placed in there as well. So I think, as I tried to show on that previous slide, we are able to place this behind the building, surrounded by a buffer of existing trees. Topographically, this is lower than the adjoining lot as well. So there's that additional benefit of screening. This provides you with just an elevation view of the proposed facility. As noted, American Tower is proposing to construct a 120-foot tall monopole. Verizon Wireless will locate its antennas at the top height. We're showing one additional array currently, but based upon the plans that we provided, it would accommodate additional wireless service providers as well. Verizon Wireless will install this triangular mount with their 6 antennas to provide their 360 degrees of coverage. The antennas will be connected by cabling inside the tower that runs down to a cable bridge and then to Verizon Wireless's equipment cabinets. Following notice to the town, a balloon test was conducted on August 28th of last year between 8 and 12. And during the balloon test, what basically happens is the likely visibility of the proposed tower is assessed, and a set of photo simulations were provided from 24 different locations. I guess I would just note initially that of all those locations and within the 1 mile circumference that was evaluated, there were only 4 locations that the tower was actually found to be visible. So I did include the photo simulations and the photographs in this presentation. This is the site selection map that I had, or the photo log that I had made reference to. This represents the 1 mile radius. The blue lines represent all the areas that were driven by the vendor to assess visibility of the balloon back here. The red dots indicate where the tower was not visible, or rather, I'm sorry, the balloon was not visible. And then these locations in green represent the locations where there was visibility of the tower. So the first location, which I just skipped, was at the T-Rock Garden Apartments. This is the balloon. It's like usually a 3-foot diameter balloon that's flown at the height of the tower. And then on the other side, this is the photo simulation of what the tower will look like from that perspective. This is actually photo 2, which is on Ocean Street. I guess there's a small cemetery there. And from this location, I included the map because it wasn't visible from that location. And then this one is from, right in front of the shopping center. You see the balloon to the left, tower to the right. Oops, I'm skipping. And here's another one from the shopping center area, or Ocean Street anyways, that shows once again the balloon and the tower. And this is the final Ocean Street view that shows the balloon and then the tower. So I think from these shots, I mean, certainly it isn't possible to completely hide a 120-foot tower, but I think there are a lot of favorable attributes. And then I did just include the other photos that were in the packet. As I noted, it was only visible from 4 of those locations within that 1 mile radius. So from these locations on Rayfield Road and Surrey Road, there was no visibility of the balloon from any of these locations. So it really is Acorn Street, Parsonage Street, South River Street, I guess, Parsonage again. All these locations, there was found to be no visibility of the balloon.
What's your impression on the foliage? And obviously we spent in New England, we spent a lot of time with no leaves on our trees. So what is your, I'm sure you've heard this before, what's your take on that as far as visibility?
Well, I mean, I think that to the extent the foliage is down, there would likely be some more visibility. I don't know that it would necessarily impact the locations that have no visibility, but there might be some more visibility of the tower with the foliage down from those locations where there was visibility.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is the final one I just included because this is the last one. This is this one, 24 up here, which is on Chandler Drive. And once again, there was no visibility. So in support of the application, Verizon Wireless provided coverage maps and hopefully a detailed RF report really that's certified that Verizon Wireless currently has coverage and capacity gaps in service in the southern area of Marshfield. And these really are centered around Route 3A, Ocean Street, Webster Street, and really the whole surrounding area. And what the report, RF report certified is that Verizon Wireless at the 120-foot height is really essential for Verizon Wireless to satisfy its coverage and capacity needs and its network requirements. So with that report, Verizon Wireless supplied these coverage maps. These are the existing sites in and around Marshfield and Duxbury. This is the proposed site that they've designated as Marshfield 5, showing the existing coverage without that location. And then we've included in the packet the map showing the coverage gains that will be realized, as I had indicated, along 3A, Webster, and the other areas, and the whole surrounding area will see some real enhanced and improved service. In addition to that, Verizon Wireless looks at this from a capacity standpoint. And from a capacity standpoint, these existing sites are trying to reach in and provide service. But because of the distance from this location and the demands on those existing sites, it's not able to achieve that capacity. So to really support the network, you need both coverage and capacity. And at this point, what they're finding is an exhaustion on the capacity of these sites. And as more and more demands are placed on these sites, their footprint that they can actually provide service to will continue to shrink. So what this map illustrates is that when they turn on the Marshfield 5 site, what they'll be able to achieve is not only the coverage that I indicated, but offloading capacity from these existing sites, improving overall network performance, allowing all these sites to operate more effectively and efficiently, as well as providing that service at the location. While I had indicated at the beginning, the Telecommunications Act provides that the FCC has exclusive jurisdiction over RF exposure, we did include a report prepared by Dr. Hayes that certified that the operation of not only Verizon Wireless, but the fully loaded telecommunications tower would be in complete compliance. These two graphs depict, this is the line for public maximum permissible exposure at 100%. And then you see with just the Verizon Wireless, we're at a de minimis 0.51%. And then even if the tower were, and this, I should say, makes some assumptions, very aggressive assumptions that the antennas are operating at 100% capacity, there's no loss for foliage. So this is a worst case scenario. And then at a fully loaded tower would still be only at 2%, well below and in full compliance with the FCC regulations. So I guess what I'm hoping and what I've tried to communicate through the materials and in this presentation is that we've tried to do our due diligence and undertook really an extensive look at the area, trying to find a site that was suitable. We found a location that's a large commercial property. It's in the B1 zoning district. There is significant foliage around it, also being blocked by the existing structure. I think we've established that Verizon not only has a gap in service in both coverage and capacity, but that the facility will satisfy that, and that the facility is designed to accommodate multiple wireless service providers. So it's a solution for Marshfield, for not only Verizon Wireless, but for other wireless service providers. So it will limit the number of new towers that would be necessary. So at this time, I appreciate the board's time in listening to me, and we're available to try and answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, Lynn, if I could, would there be any possibility to move the tower to the right and you'd avoid that setback? Why was that absolute particular spot picked?
Well, I think for a number of reasons, as I noted, there's the buffer for the wetlands are close by, so we wanted to stay out of that. And also it was selected to avoid any interference with the shopping center. There are loading docks back there. So this provides a wooded area that's sufficiently wide enough. I mean, the property line is not completely straight. So this provides an area off of the paved surface that will allow for the accommodation of the required fenced area.
It's classic.
Okay.
You've got bollards around the transformer, but nothing around the tower. Is that standard industry practice?
Yes, the tower will be inside the fenced area. So. the
Chain link
bollards-
fence?
Pardon?
Just a chain link fence?
Yes. I mean, I think there are also bollards out in front of the chain link fenced areas, if I recall correctly.
Maybe I missed them on the map. I see them around the transformer, but I don't see anything around the tower.
I thought I noticed that when I was reviewing the plans, so maybe I'm wrong. I mean, that's certainly something that I think there's a line of bollards. If you look at sheet, which I'm sorry, I didn't show, sheet C201. It looks like they're proposing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bollards right along the fence there.
Could you please reference the map sheet number that you're referring to?
I'm sorry, sheet C201, grading plan and profile.
Thank you. I keep looking for my glasses.
I think it's also on sheet C202, you'll see the bollards.
I'm going to I think that we are going to continue this hearing, making a couple of notes on the documents that we have. But I'd like to hear from the rest of the board. Chris, are you all set with that answer?
Well, the answer, maybe I need to clarify the question, because there are bollards along the fence, my mistake. But the question is it industry practice not to put them around the tower itself, given that you can go right through the gate?
Yes, I mean, I've never seen them with bollards. Typically, they will not pull into the area. They'll generally walk into the area. But I mean, I don't know, and perhaps Brian can comment, if there's any reason you couldn't put bollards around the tower. I don't know that I've ever seen that.
This is Brian Lanier, the engineer with American Tower.
Would you repeat your name again, please?
Brian Lanier, engineer with American Tower. Yeah. The expectation generally is that a fence around the tower in combination with the shelters and the shelter, the cabinets, the electronic equipment for the carriers held is generally sufficient to ensure that you're not going to have some kind of car or vehicle sort of impacting the tower. Like it's extremely rare. The only time we ever see bollards used is really for towers that have guy wires that sort of support the mast that come down, as opposed to sort of self-supporting towers like a monopole.
That answers my question.
Thank you. Since we're on the topic of fences, is there a security system that is set up to prevent any reckless behavior from any of our citizens in that area, or any other proposed equipment, lighting, etc.?
Well, it's proposed to be fenced. I mean, we can certainly put some anti-climbing capabilities into the fencing if that's what the board would like to see. There isn't really any lighting proposed per se. Verizon Wireless will typically install some work service lights. But other than that, there isn't any additional lighting. I'm not familiar with how much lighting is. I think there's probably lighting back there for the shopping center. But other than that, there isn't any other proposed lighting.
This is Brian Lanier again. I can confirm the fence itself will be locked. It'll be padlocked in. Usually Verizon will have a lock, as well as American Tower will have a lock. And usually the safety climb system doesn't start up until about 6 feet above grade. So you have to have a ladder to get to tower to start climb to access the safety climb system. And to Dan's point, this tower itself won't be lit. There won't be a light at the top of it, I don't believe, just because the height doesn't demand it.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? The board has no questions on all of this information?
A ton of information. I'd be looking to be able to read this over. I wouldn't be opposed to continue it for
Okay.
hearing.
All right. I'd like to recommend a peer review. Which would require a fee from the applicant.
Yeah, Lynn, I agree with you. Peer review on something this size.
And then it's not up to the board to continue the process of evaluating. And Andrew, I'm just not sure, Brian, as far as the fee that would be assessed. So I'm thinking that perhaps if the board would, we could just do a roll call if that would be an acceptable route for the board to go down. And then perhaps we could work out with Nancy or the applicant themselves can give their input onto what a peer review, someone like Ed Pecci or Pat Brennan, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but I'd look into that tomorrow and see what we have in store for the board for this particular hearing. That's what I'm recommending. Does the rest of the board agree with that?
I would agree.
I'm going to just take a roll. Lynn, yes. Brian, yes. Larry?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris Felisos?
Yes.
Okay. So, Tony, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How would you recommend going about this to require a fee and set that up through Nancy, or we would require quotes? How would we go about that? To get peer review and require the applicant to provide a fee. I'm just trying to determine the procedure. I know what we did with 40Bs and other situations, but this particular situation is unique.
Yeah, so I think it's similar to that. I think you'd go through Nancy and then you gotta see if someone's available.
Okay.
The two names you mentioned are usually happy to help out, so.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll probably get to work on that tomorrow, Nancy.
Off the top of my head, I don't know how much that would be, so I apologize for not having that answer, but.
Well, we'll work through that, and I'm sure the applicant will be in touch with Nancy, and we'll figure that out through emails. So without wasting any more of the board's time, there has been a considerable amount of information this evening. I also would like to draw the board's attention to the table of contents, which includes a listing of all the exhibits. Currently, I believe there are 13 exhibits attached to this application. In addition to that, we also had previous cell tower decisions as well. So what my goal is for us to have some sort of a draft decision that we could work with for the next hearing, at least get that to the board, and then have some input from peer review, make sure planning board, I understand conservation's okay. And we'll just take it one step at a time. So that's what I'm thinking. So I'd like to give the applicant another moment to speak and then see if there's anybody from the public that would like to chime in. And that sounds like a reasonable course of action. Does the applicant have any other additional comments or concerns?
No, I was just curious, the nature and scope and purpose of the peer review.
To understand all this information, especially in light of the location and the proximity of the amount of traffic and property, and that's my take on it. And it was a recommendation from town council as well.
So would this be like an A&E review or?
I'm not sure exactly. I think that we'll get to that tomorrow, and then I'm sure you'll get an email, and we will determine the necessity. I want to run it past a couple of our peer review folks and get their impression of what's going on, and then we'll take it from there.
Lynn, do you think we should do a site visit or?
Yeah, I think that would be really wise, especially if we could do it after whoever does a peer review has a little bit of time to generate their report or their whatever needs to happen. I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay.
So I just for the purposes of what we're hearing tonight, I think the best thing for us to do is put it on the next available hearing that we have, and hopefully we can get a large amount of all of this checked off, and then concentrate on the nitty gritty and getting a decision and conditions and things of that nature. Okay. So Nancy, we'll be in touch tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'd like you to set up a site visit, and perhaps Attorney Klasnick can work with you for that, but I want it to be productive. And perhaps it would be beneficial for most of the board to be there, opposed to only 2 of us at a time. So we'd need to get that through and get that onto the towns. Yeah. So maybe next Wednesday.
May I ask a question?
Just a minute, Attorney Klasnick. So, Nancy, does that sound like that makes sense?
It does.
Okay. Yes, Attorney Klasnick.
Would the board want to have a representative from American Tower, or is this something, I mean, obviously the property is accessible, but we would just.
At this point, I can't give you that answer. I'm going to just gather as much information as I can. And then I'm hoping to get an email to you the beginning of the week, giving you some sort of a game plan from our end, and who and what. And it's possible that someone's available, hopefully easily available. But as you know, that's not always the case. So I just have to get a few calls out tomorrow, and then see where we stand and the amount of a fee that would be required to do what we need to do.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
All right, thank you so much. Any other comments from the board? All righty, I'd like to make a motion to continue this case. Sorry, lots of paperwork. May 8th, right, Nancy? Sorry, June 8th.
Yeah, May 25th, but that's only 2 weeks away. So there may not be enough time for things.
When don't we put it on for May 25th? And maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to at least have some sort of some input.
Sure.
And then if we have to bounce it to the 8th of June, then I'm guessing that's what's going to happen, but let's be proactive.
Yeah, I think that's better than have them wait another 2 weeks and then possibly another 2 weeks.
I agree. So
Yeah.
at least we can probably cross off a few of these things that we agreed to waive or whatever we're going to do. So I'd like to make a motion to continue case 2128 to May 25th at 6:30. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Thanks, Larry. All those in favor of continuing? Lynn Fidler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
and Chris Felisos.
Aye.
Okay, so 6:30 on the May 25th. We're going to try to get a site visit out, hopefully the end of next week. Will give us a little time, but we're going to wait and see what our peer review has to say before we set up that site visit. I want to be productive. All righty. And Attorney Klasnick, thank you for your time. Your presentation was terrific. We have a lot of information to go by, and I'll be back in touch with you via Nancy.
Thank you, Madam and Chair, and I want to thank the board and everyone for their time. Have a great evening. And
Very good. Thank you so
look
much.
forward from hearing from you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. All right, everybody, it's 9:31. Is there anything else anybody would like to add? All right.
I'd just like to say that Larry did an admirable job as the second person tonight.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark, everybody. Appreciate everybody's time. So good night for this evening. I'm going to do a roll call and we're going to adjourn. So tonight's May 11th, 2021. We are going to adjourn. It's currently 9:31. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
Appreciate it. Larry. Yoo-hoo. Lynn Fiddler. Aye. Brian Murphy.
Aye.
Larry Keane.
Aye.
Mark Stiles.
Aye.
Chris Felisos.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a nice night. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Andrew.
One.
Bye-bye.